welcome to another Wednesday night. I hope this summer has been neat and useful for everybody, as it's kind of a little different makeup as far as like what we're doing each week, and it's a whole group of Alpine people, and it's not just level 1, 2, or 3 specific. So I'm really awesome to see everybody kind of getting together. Hoping that the work sessions have been useful to each of you. My name is Dusty Dyar. I am an instructor down in Crested, Butte, Colorado, and I've been here for most of my entire career. I have opportunity to work throughout the Rocky region, and I get to travel a bit with the national. But on that, tonight we're going to talk about, or begin talking about, teaching. And in 100% transparency and honesty, I didn't look that close at what the outline for this was until a couple of days ago. And so I've been planning kind of a master teach on all of teaching. And so we've reduced it and changed it quite a bit in the last day to come down to where our focus tonight is on assessing and planning to develop an experiential learning environment. And that's our goal tonight, is to spend time talking about how do we start our teaching environment? How do we get it created? And how we're going that way. So that's kind of our goal tonight. I said this last time for those who are on, I'm going to say it again this time. Because some people are listening to this through their phones and are doing other things and they're not watching, I will probably read a lot of the things that are on the screen as well as talk about them, just because there's people that aren't on screen to read that. Just so you know, so I am one of those people that when I'm in a presentation in a room and the person reads all the slides to me, it's kind of like, I'm always a little bit like, seriously, bro. I'm doing it on purpose, just so you know. A few more people popped on. Please go into chats, click on the attendance form, and we are. I will probably spend most, like a good bit of the chunk of our thing, just kind of presenting slides and giving you stuff to look at a little bit. I'll pop back and forth every now and then just to look at a face. As a group, you all have permission to interrupt me. And like if something goes a little bit weird or a little bit awry, please be like, whoa, Dusty, come back. Or if I skim across something, and you have a question about it, or before I move on to something else, you're like, hey, what about this? Can you develop that more? I am happy to do that. So you all have freedom to get on. Otherwise, try to keep yourself muted, just so it doesn't start picking up information and feedback from you and stuff like that, unless you want to talk. And another chance before we get going. Anybody have any thoughts, questions, or needs before we hop in there? Perfect. Just out of my curiosity, man, I was going to blow up the chat though. I was going to say, I'm kind of curious kind of what kind of spread we have here of, I can see a couple of people I know as trainers and staff on here. And then I'm curious how many people are newer instructors or like level 1, level 2, or looking to get certified. But that'll kind of blow up the chat. I was going to have y'all put that in there, but I'm not sure we need to know. We can just look you up later. This chat is going to bounce back and forth a little bit between stuff to copy and a couple of things thrown out there that to think about for if you're a trainer or more advanced, more longer in the tooth per se in teaching scheme. But with that, we're going to get going. I'm going to share my other screen here, and off we go. Share screen 2. We're going to optimize for video sharing. Share. All right. Okay, are we, is everybody seeing a big old PSIA-RM slide up there? One person could be like, yep. No? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks. Awesome. So that's what we're doing, right? We're talking about assessing and planning for an experiential learning environment. Tonight's goals, objectives are like assessment of a group's individual movement patterns, understandings, and intentions. How do we discover the students that we're with? What do we know about them? What do they know? What do they think? What can they do? What are their abilities? And also, what are their wants? Why do they pay money to come play with us? And we do that through visual and auditory, right? Like visual is you're observing them move, you're observing their body language, you're observing them ski. And then auditorily is like we're having conversations. We're using our people skills to get to know them, get them to communicate with us on their stuff. And we're also listening for, some of the underlying layers of stuff that they won't say with their words, but their voice might share with us. And then in the end, our goal is to have a plan. Like, what are we going to do that has importance to our guests, and whether it's an individual or group, and something that you can know whether, like, did you meet your goal? Did you not? Were you in a great pathway to get there and things were good? You're just not quite there yet. Things like that. Versus we just went out and I threw some information at them and I'm not sure where we ended. Just a little bit of like, we try to have, outcome-based learning is where we're based in PSIA. So that's what we're after today. Before we go too much further, we use the word experiential a lot in our region of Rocky, in our organization as a nation. And so there's a couple of meanings, and they're all relevant for tonight and for kind of as you're moving forward with this. When we think about experiential, there's Kolb's game, and that's great, but that's not what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about like what does experiential actually mean? And it's just involving or based on experiences and observations. That's kind of the definition of experience. Like, are you doing things to create an experience? Versus fully existing on mental imagery and conversation. And so it drives something that comes from doing something, and often in many ways has a lasting impression. Like it usually when you participate and you get to do things, you have more memory, you have more resilience to that learning than simply having a conversation with somebody. And a lot of times experiential does, it speaks to like learning. When you get to do stuff, you get to learn. And that kind of goes to our fundamentals we'll talk about a little bit. So most all of you, I'm assuming, have seen this, the learning connection model. And this is a bit of a model that we're using currently in PSIA that helps us identify and focus in on our students so that we can be truly guest-centered, right? We're looking at what their technical skills are, what their people skills are, and their teaching skills. And then we do the same thing for ourselves. What are our technical skills, teaching skills, and people skills? And then how those come together creates our learning partnership. But our goal is to find out about the student. That's why they're put in the center there, right? That's their guest-centered teaching. For some of you that are newer to this stuff, this is a slide that we've been bouncing around for quite a long time. And it's the separates people skills and teaching skills. If you're doing something that connects you to the student, that helps create trust, relationship, bonding, and communication, those would be people skills. People skills are used all of the time in teaching skills, and we try to separate them so we can focus in on how we might apply them differently from teaching skills, right? And a teaching skill connects the student and instructor to the learning environment. What are you doing that promotes learning in the student? Or what are you doing that promotes that attention of the student to the learning environment? Like what keeps them connected to that? Those are what our teaching skills are, right? And that's what our fundamentals are based on. As you look at that, right? And so for us, we're going to focus on this kind of part of it. That's this new chapter we're coming into. We've just kind of left behind the technical skills. And as we say, we kind of left them behind, meaning that's not the focus. But remember that all of these skill triangles are always present. Even though we're talking and focusing on teaching skills, you need to maintain your technical skills to help through the assessment. You need to maintain your people skills to introduce and communicate. And so that's why these are always all connected. And here, these are our fundamentals for teaching, right? Hopefully all of you have seen this, and this is a lot of review for all of you, and or maybe even a little bit boring, like seriously, this again. But yeah, this again, right? We have collaborate on long-term goals, short-term objectives. We manage information, activities, and train, selection, and pacing to meet our students' needs, right? Then we promote play and experimentation and exploration. Those are what kind of makes things a little bit experiential, right? If we go play with something, or you provide an opportunity to be experiential, or I mean experimental. Man, I'm getting all messed up with these E words. Or let them go explore. Like, hey, there's 3 runs over here. Why don't you just go ski around on them? And how do you have to modify what you're doing to ski each one of these 3 runs off this lift differently? Or do you have to? Can they all be the same? Stuff like that, right? And then, the other one we got, facilitate the learner's ability to reflect upon experiences and sensations. This is the big one that creates learning, right? When we do something and then we reflect and think about it, like, okay, when I did this, this happened, and when I did that, that happened. And so when I'm in this environment, I'm going to choose to maybe have a little more rotation in my legs and make a shorter turn because I don't want to go so fast. Or maybe I'm going to go a whole lot straighter because I don't want to walk across that flat down there. That creates learning, right? When we have the opportunity to reflect on it. And then a really big one in this that we're going to check back in with a few times today is adapt to the changing needs of the learner. And what that means is that today we're talking about assessing and planning. And oftentimes in our country right now, we're really good at meeting people and digging into them right at the beginning of our lesson. And we come up with this plan like, all right, here's what we're going to do. And we head off and we stay very strong to our initial plan. We struggle to let that go. And one of the big things we need to do is we need to adapt, right? We need to look at, is my initial plan still relevant and working for what we're doing? And so we need to make sure we're adapting to the changing needs of learning. And that can happen like during your first run and assessment of like, oh, this person's way better than they said they were, or well, they overestimated themselves a little bit. So you're automatically starting to change and verify stuff. And then we manage the emotional and physical risks of our students. So that's that, right? And so that takes us into what we're going to talk about today. This is the teaching learning cycle that we have. All of the fundamentals that we have in teaching and all of those skills we develop there, see if you can apply them to every single one of these boxes. When you look at welcome and introduction, how can you create an opportunity for play? Are there things you're adapting to? Can you start collaborating right away, right? And same thing as we move into assess students. And to be truly honest, assessing students starts as you're walking from your locker room towards your lesson and you see them for the first time. You're already observing them, you're already hearing them talk, and you're already gathering that information, right? So the assessment and the identification starts immediately. And so that welcome introduction and assessing students go together and they start right away. And then that slides over into determine goals and plan experiences. And so that that slides into that, you need a little information so you can give some of your input, right? They're paying for your expertise. But at the same time, right, we're going to collaborate, that fundamental. And in collaborate, we're trying to pull out of them why they paid for it. What will make this lesson valuable to them and worth their time, right? And then once you develop that plan, you move into create experience and do a little bit of learning, like try to get, modify movement a little bit, and then practice that, don't be like, oh, you got that one, let's move on to the next one. Like, you give them time to practice, let them do it. And then during all of that, you're probably assessing them the entire time and you're probably redetermining the goals, like, ooh, they're getting this quicker, or wait, that's going to take us a while to stay here. Maybe we're going to shift this. Our short term just became a long term, and we need a new short term goal. However that might happen, and this cycle goes around and around and around. Right?
Hey, Dusty.
Yeah.
I had a question. So what if you ask your students early on, like, what is your goal for the day? And let's say their goal is, let's say, to ski black runs better or something.
Right.
But maybe they're not there, or you're seeing something else, like upper body rotation. How do you just go to the tactical and kind of leave the main goal in place? Or do you try and reassess that goal and change their goal a little,
Oh
or
man,
add
that
two
is a great
goals?
question. And we are going to talk about that coming up.
Okay.
So hold on to that. And that's a great question because that's super relevant. That will come out as we started that identifying stuff. And that's why I kind of brought up that, like, oh wow, they're better than they say they were, or oh maybe we're going to have to reassess because they got a pretty wicked stem Christie going and they want to go ski down some double diamonds. So we'll discuss that in a little bit. But that's a great question. So when we're dealing with this, we have our fundamentals, and we're going to try to implement our fundamentals continuously from the beginning to the end of the lesson. We don't collaborate once with our students and then move on. We don't do one game and end. We try to incorporate opportunities to explore, experiment, and reflect. And we're always managing the pace and information. I mean, those are decisions we're always making. But like a tool that I like to use to help me identify, right? We're talking about the assess. We're going to move into that assessment world a little bit. And a tool that I like to use is something that here in Rocky we played with for quite a bit, and it was part of our assessments. And then we let it go a little bit for the learning connection model. But it doesn't mean it's irrelevant, right? We have guest centered teaching, which is, you'll hear people say GCT, so it stands for guest centered teaching. And really what this is for me, it's a tool. And this tool, if you can see on the screen, you have motivations, understandings, and movements. And then you have identify and facilitate. Boom, this makes a grid. And in this grid, if what we're talking about today is that first part, right? That identify, and then what will bridge us from the identify into facilitate is what we're talking about today. And this is a tool that I've always used, and it works really good for me. You are welcome to steal this, take this, copy it. It's part of our, a lot of schools still talk about this as I travel around. And it fits into the learning connection model, right? So like this will slide in learning connection model and give you, kind of help give you some information. So tonight we're talking about identify. We have motivations. What do they want? Like, why are they there? Like, it costs money to come play with us. So why did they come spend that? Were they told to? Were they forced to? Are they truly motivated to learn something? Do they want a guide? There are a lot of reasons on why they're there. Then the next one is, what do they know? What do they know about skiing, and what are they trying to do? Because they may be doing what they're trying to do and think they're doing it, and that will match with their movements possibly. Or are they trying to do something that their movements are trying to do something else, right? And so we get a little understanding to be able to understand our students. And then movement. What are their abilities? How do they apply skills to manipulate their skis to get outcomes, right? What kind of, it comes on things. And then this is, if you're a children's instructor, it's the CAP model, right? It's very similar to the CAP model. You have identify and facilitate, the cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. Well, there's lots of them. Okay, right? And so here's a whole bunch of information here that organize identifying who we get to play with. Right? Like what are they, where do they sit on Maslow? Are they super nervous and they're like, wow, this mountain environment is way beyond what I feel safe, and like I need shelter and some security, And if you put me on top of this mountain, there's no way I'm going to pay attention to you. I'm in full survival mode. Or do they feel really comfortable with where they're at, and you can push them a little bit. What have they done before? Why are they there? So a lot of that motivations. You come over into the understandings. We always say understandings, but like, what are their misunderstandings? What are things? And that kind of relates to that question that was just posed of what if they want to ski blacks, but they don't have those skills, right? Now we got to start looking at like, how do we blend and discuss their, their goals for the day? And the quick short answer is it's a discussion and a conversation like, okay, here's where you're at. Here's what you can do skiing. You can do these things. We can choose a long road or a short road, right? That's why we have a collaboration part of our fundamentals is like, if it's more important to you to be able to ski the black than to ski it well, my goal then is just what can I do that you can safely manage that, right? Or if you're in for a little bit more of a long game, it's okay, let's build your skills. And when your skills are at that black level, then we can go there, right? And so we give the students options. Oftentimes, I think I'll talk about this later again too in some other slides, but oftentimes we as instructors, we always go for, I know what's best for you, and so this is what you're going to do. You need to learn to do this type of carving turn before you can do that. And I challenge all of you of, do they though? Do they have to do that? Or is that just our progression in PSIA for our instructors that you need to do these things to jump through our levels 1, 2, and 3 hoops? So I encourage you to step back and be like, what skills are necessary for this person to safely do what they want? And then have a collaboration and communicate with them like, here's what I see you can do. Here's what's going to happen in this terrain. Like, yeah, and you presented like, do I have a tactical focus that will then allow you to manage that terrain? Or are there a couple of skills that you're like, you know what, you won't do well on that. If we get these couple of skills, we can move that way, right? And so we have those options. And so this is my identification tool, guest-centered teaching, right? I use this to let me know what I'm seeing, what I'm thinking, and it helps me kind of put places when I hear them say something or I see them do something, I can put it in a category, be like, okay, this kind of lives over here, and how's it affecting these other things? I'm going to click through because my slide here talks about all of teaching. So we're going to kind of quickly move through the rest of those, right? And so the facilitation piece is on the bottom there. But we get in there. Okay, so we have identification strategies. And it's like, what are we doing? Like, how do we identify things? And one of the biggest things to do is observation, right? Pose a few questions, but then get out of the way. Let them go do some things. Let them communicate and get out of the way. Like, we oftentimes have like, I need to know these things. This is the card I'm going to fill out. What's your birthday? What's your favorite color? What's your favorite food? Blah, blah. We get caught into our own little box. And I'm encouraging you to kind of get away from their little box and let them let them go do something so you can observe them act naturally. And like, how do we identify their needs? The foundation of positive skiing experience lies in your ability as an instructor to accurately identify guest needs. So here's a little thing for if y'all need something to share, like if you're a trainer, you want to like set a model for your staff to kind of follow a little bit. There's a little bit of a model that reminds me that I need to thank some people. Some of these slides you're seeing in here, some I built some part of the Rocky Mountain teaching clinic. Like we used to have an indoor clinic day that talked about teaching theory and teaching things. And this is from that. Oh, my internet is unstable. Are we still together?
Your screen is stopped sharing at this point.
Okay. There we go. Where did Zoom go? I need to get back in. And sorry, if you can hear me, there was a big lightning strike outside and my internet said it went away. And
Well, that's okay as long as you're still here.
oh, I'm still here.
Yeah, I can hear you and I can see the slide, but it's not in presentation mode.
Oh, okay, so the slide, great, so the slide came back, perfect. I'll put that back in presentation mode, maybe. There we go, we all good, we all back? All right. Stop sharing. There we go. Okay, I got it. I see people moving. Perfect. Yeah, that was crazy. All of a sudden, it was like, you have no internet. And I'm like, oh, man, not right now. So here we go. Well, I got you. Any needs right now? We good? Okay, we're going back. We're going to go play some more.
Oh, good. It did come back now.
Okay, perfect. All right, so,
Is it possible to have just the slide and not the commentary small print on the right?
oh, I got the wrong one. Hold on a sec. I clicked on the wrong one. There we go. You want this one. I need screen 2. Thank you for saying that.
Perfect. Thank you.
That's better, eh? So it's something we can do, right? You have ask questions, make observations, assign meaning, and verify meaning. Okay, so here's where this gets juicy. We all know that we're going to ask some questions. We all know we're going to watch them ski, and then we're going to make some. And then we're going to make a plan, right? The cool part of this is like, it's okay to make some assumptions. It is okay to be like, all right, I heard these things, I saw that. I think this is what we need to do, or I think this is where they're trying to go. Because if you don't make those assumptions or you assign meaning to what's happening, it will take you forever to get anywhere. So you need to jump to some conclusions. I know that's totally anti everything that we're saying in our society right now, but go ahead. You have my permission. And that bottom V there, that is the biggest thing in setting up and planning and getting to know people around you. You must verify. Make some assumptions, go ahead and start moving, but you've got to verify what you think. You've got to dig deeper and you got to find out what's underneath what some of your assumptions might be. And like, it's okay to be like, I made an assumption, I was wrong, we need to go this way. Or if you're lucky, it's like, sweet, nailed it, let's keep going. Those kind of assumptions over time and experience probably become more accurate. You know, when you're newer to teaching, newer to skiing, you have less data to draw from to have real accurate assumptions. It's okay to make them, right? You're still in that like copy choose game, a little bit of like, here's what I was told to do. We're going to do this step to this step to this step on this level 4 progression, because that's what I'm told to do. And you have a little bit of permission to step out of that a little bit, make some assumptions, and then verify. All right. So I'm going to play a video, and on this video, it's going to be an interview of a kid, right? So you saw the GCT grid. That's like, what are some things to identify? You have our learning connection model with the student in the middle. When we watch this video, I want you to try and make some observations and assign some meanings, right? And then are there opportunities for you to verify within this video or not? Okay, so here goes our video. Hopefully it works out amazingly the way we all want it to.
Hi, I'm Clarissa Jimenez and I'm from here. I live in December 3rd. 12 years old.
What's your best subject in school?
I like science. So you get to do a whole bunch of labs and stuff.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Very good. What do you like about skiing?
I don't really know. I like to turn a lot, I guess. I like to carve, so it looks good.
Yeah. Good. Do you like to go fast?
Yeah, a little.
Good. What's your best lesson been about?
Yesterday was Steve Cart, the bump lesson. That was really fun.
What do you like the best about it? Just having fun, or?
Yeah, but I got to learn how to absorb bumps a lot better than I did.
Good. What would you like to learn today?
How to like follow through in all my turns and I guess make them kind of like more of an S. And I guess I'm kind of making them a question mark, kind of.
Okay. Why do you turn?
Do I turn?
Yeah, why do you turn?
Oh. Sometimes to slow down and to go other places and to avoid people and other things like that.
Very good. How much do you ski a year?
I don't really know.
A lot?
Not really.
Oh, okay. Well, should we go out and have some fun today?
Yeah.
All righty.
Bye. Okay.
All right. Were you all
Can
able
I
to?
clone that kid for the whole season?
So observations, right? Kids just chirped at us for a little while and gave us some information. What is, without everybody talking, like, like a little bit of just kind of to yourself, I'm going to ask you some questions because there's a bunch of you and not everybody gets a chance to participate. But when you watch that, what are some of the, what are you able to identify about this child? One, when he said his name, I had no idea. I still haven't heard it, and I've seen that video like 20 times. I don't know what his name is. But like there's some things, like I heard him say some motivations. He made a statement about understandings that I'm real interested in. And can I identify his movements? I can't, right? Like I can make an assumption about his movements by the way he talked about it, right? That's kind of our verbal split we do. When he's like, oh, I like to carve. He knew the difference between carving and not. And he said it was faster. I could make some assumptions about his favorite subject in school being science. And then yesterday's lesson, he did bumps and he learned to absorb them more. But something I found real interesting in that, when he's like, well, what do you want to work on today? He said, I want to follow through with my turns. My assumption was those were no longer his words. He wasn't talking about himself any longer. So if I go back to this, that opens my opportunity to go in here and verify some meanings, right? I have a bunch of information at face value. I was able to make some observations. I could assign some meanings. So I did like science, might be able to think through some stuff. Made some statements like I want to carve, so I can assume that he's skied from, he lives in Silverthorne. I would like to verify what his definition of skiing a lot versus not skiing a lot. Because compared to some of my clients who come up for 4 days versus somebody who lives in the mountains that maybe skis 2 days a week for the entire winter, like that's just a different perspective, right? Of what's a lot. And so when we talk about assigning meaning and verifying meaning, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about like, oh, I heard things. Well, just because I heard that doesn't mean that that's legit. All right. So when we get in here, what did we find out in here? And what else do we need to know? One of the biggest things I need to know is like, okay, so far we heard a chat, but we got to go skiing. Like we got to spend time doing it. because there's a difference between a description and activity a lot of times. And something that I will encourage all of you to do is to get just enough information that you can put your skis on and go safely slide around on appropriate terrain to start gathering more information about what they're doing. 2 reasons. One, remember that slide we saw at the very beginning, separated people and teaching skills? What connects us to the person and what connects the student to the learning environment? Talking while standing in ski gear typically doesn't do a lot of connecting people to the learning environment. There are exceptions, I get it. There's somebody out there that wants to talk me off all day. But from my experience in my 30 years, it's mostly people want to go skiing. So get out there and go start making some observations. So, and as you're out skiing, this is when you get to really drill in some collaboration, right? You get to have the opportunity to be like, here's what I see you being able to do. Here's what you're saying you want to do. Let's talk about like what's it look like to bring those two together? Do you want it to look like a hard lesson focus to gain these skills? Or do we want a lighter lesson focus of, I'm going to use the skills I have, and I want you to kind of give me some tactics to use them to be able to manage this other terrain, right? That's collaborating with them. We move on, right? So now let's watch this kid ski. Anyway, so now we get a little more information. So the kid said he skied some bumps, learned how to absorb them, likes to carve, then said something about finishing a turn or question marks or something like that. But that just got us out the door. Now we're skiing. Now I get to watch him ski. Oh yeah, look at this kid, killing it. Must be Breck. Make some turns, right? And so now all the stuff that this group has been working on the last month of technical skills, we're doing our MA, right? We're watching them person ski. And as this kid's skiing, right, we can see stuff, right? We see some whole body rotation, we see some stemming, a little bit of down stem there, right? Some inclination, right? We got a lot of opportunity with this dude. But he's a pretty good skier, right? He has enough skills to manage black, bumpy terrain. And if I focus on the fact that he's not rotating his legs separately very much, and that's all I focus on, the kid's not going to see this terrain, right? We're going to go down on some other terrain to learn how to turn his legs. Is that going to keep this kid engaged? Oh, a little bit inclined there. Is that going to keep this kid engaged in the learning environment? Or is he going to be like, peace out, bro, you were the most boring person I've ever been with? Right? And so that's where, going back to that first question of like, how do you align stuff? You got to see like what will keep the person engaged in the environment. And I'm guessing with this kid who lives in Summit County, skis probably every week, can manage terrain with his peers and his social environment. Now, this is an assumption I'm going to make. I'd have to verify, but my assumption is that he probably feels more like he's as good as what he can get down versus he's as good as how he does it. We as instructors spend a lot of time looking at we're as good as how we do it. That takes the fun out of stuff for a lot of people sometimes. So how do we blend those two together? Will make an amazing lesson for this kid, right? Give him some activities and things to do while in this environment. How does he get a chance to do some carving, right? Like he's got a wicked lean, but the skis kind of hook up with that higher edge angle and they give a little bit of feedback to him, pretty fun. But how can I take the information he gave me and put it together? All right, that's some skiing. Let's move on. So now when we have this, right, we can put more information in this. I can put more information in this grid. I now know what he wants to do. Actually, that's not true. I would double check. He says he wants to follow through with the turn, but he talked about bumps and carving earlier. And so I would verify like, hey, what about, you talked about carving and absorbing bumps. Do we want to play more with that? And especially after watching him move, I would have some thoughts like, what are some other things we can do as far as like getting them to stack over that outside ski. If we could do some like outside pull drags just as an experiment to like see if that works, if that sticks. Does he have some muscle memory in that from previous lessons to get him on his outside thing? And then we can build on that. And then his ski might manage some of those other words that were probably given him to his instructor, being like, well, you don't follow through with your turn. You make more of a question mark than mess. We can manage that. So then that takes us back into our learning connection model a little bit, right? What are we doing to keep our student in the middle, right? What are we doing? Like, what technical skills does the kid have? How am I communicating with this guy? And that'll inform my teaching skills, right? And here's kind of how this may play out in our fundamentals, right? We have technical skills. What skills do the students possess? What do students know about skiing, right? Those two things create intent. What they can do and what they think about will create their intent a little bit and give them things. And then how do you verify their ability and their knowledge? Chat with them while you're riding the chairlift. Have small chats, but then let them move, right? Keep them moving, and then ask them which direction they want to take it, right? And so in guessing and teaching, that'd be the movements. Excuse me. Teaching skills. What learning environment meets their profile? Is this somebody who wants to find that thrill, that excitement, that danger to stay engaged? Or is this somebody who thrill and excitement will blow them up, and then they'll like fall way down on Maslow's? And so you really got to protect them and keep them pretty safe, right? Most of our coaching from our schools coaches towards safe, right? Error on the safe side, which is true, right? We don't want to break people, but don't get caught there. Don't get caught in I have to keep them on this lower, easier terrain because, like that's whatever. How independent is the student? Are they independent enough to give them an entire run? Can they go all the way to the chairlift and have full pulls? Or are they pretty young or pretty nervous that they're going to need little stops, like hit all of the landing zones on the way down the hill? What are they bringing in? Those are all stuff and their motivations. Those are all things that inform our teaching skills, our people skills. How are you communicating with it? Is this a teenager that doesn't want to talk to you? They give you like one-word answers? Is this somebody who, like I have this buddy lawyer out east who will talk and talk and talk and talk, and I have to ask him, like, do you want to go ski? Oh yeah. And then off we go, right? How you reading their body language? What is their body language telling you? How willing are they to connect with you, create relationship with you, or willing to connect relationship with the other students in the group? Those are all the people skills that help inform how I will manage my class. What are their motivations? And so when we get in that, if only the accurately identified needs can be met, right? So it's our job to sift through their vocabulary and their communication to discover what's actually being identified. And I don't know if I don't think I did. So like I've said this before, you're going to hear this continuously throughout this presentation, just like you must continuously verify your assumptions and observations. When you see something or you hear something, you can make an assumption, but then you need to verify it. You need to go double check or figure out a way to confirm what you think you heard or what you think they mean, because in our situation, we can't go with, here's what I interpreted, like just because you said this and this is how it affected me. In our situation as instructors, it is our job to discover the meaning of how they're trying to communicate versus assigning our meaning to that. That's a pretty big deal. Like, remember that it's your job to discover their meaning and their intent versus your assumed meaning and intent. We all use a lot of words that means something a little different to each one of us. So continue to dig deeper. All right, so while I'm on this page, I have a new term for everybody. Up there on top where it says only accurately identified needs can be accurately met. When we say identified needs, that makes it feel like we are trapped, that because they need that, we have to do that, right? They need leg rotation. They need to be able to balance over the outside ski. Those skill needs sometimes trump a really fun lesson. So let's change that to the word. I didn't type it in there because I thought about this a little bit later. But let's change that word to opportunities. Only accurately identified opportunities can be accurately met. Like, there's a lot of opportunity with the people that come visit us to change their skiing, to give them experiences, to show them something new. And what opportunities we choose together through collaboration will truly meet our students' needs, right? And so that takes us to what guides our decisions. So once I have that guest centered teaching model filled out, this is how I choose to make a decision, right? So within relevance, that is why, like what I choose, like we're gonna work on this, how is it relevant to everything else I know about this students, this group I'm with, this individual, whatever it is, what is the relevance and how is it gonna matter? Why does it matter, right? There's a bunch of other words here that kind of go with the same thing. Are your choices significant, important, pertinent, applicable, valid, or appropriate? Pretty cool that the relevant slide here was in a slideshow that was created in Rocky Mountain. I mean, that's been more than a decade, well more than 10 years ago. That this is now the main word that as the national team travels around and we talk about decision-making, that outside circle, relevance is the word, right? If you're gonna assign one meaning to decision-making, it's relevance. So who gets to determine whether something's relevant? And this is where I challenge all of you instructors, including myself. We learn all this cool stuff. I know all this neat stuff on how to make a ski work and how to do this and how to do that or where to go. And I find that like, oh, but you really need, this is why I gave you the word opportunities. You really need this. And guests, not instructors, get to decide what works and what doesn't work, which is why in our fundamentals, you see collaborate, you see all of you see all that other stuff that focuses the learning, focuses the attention back on what the student is bringing to the table and how it's meeting their needs. And so that's super important, right? And so this goes back to that question we had earlier. Do needs always align? They don't. Every now and then they do, and you get to be like, yes. But a lot of times they don't, right? Like here it is. There's what you asked. Their expectation, or their ability versus their motivation. This says expectation, but I'm going to throw ability in there. Or the expectation of others versus the motivation of the actual student. My boyfriend made me come, so I'm here, right? How does that impact the student? And then for us, the knowledge of instructor versus motivation of student. What do you know that would help them out versus what do they truly want? A lot of times they go together, right? A lot of times they want your expertise. That's all right. They want, like, I'm here for you. You're the pro. You take me where you think we should go. And sometimes our knowledge and our expertise get in the way of being truly guest-centered, of asking the question, would you rather do this or would you rather do that? Did you give an option to the students to help guide and collaborate on where their lesson is headed? Because the more times that you get an opportunity to give the question and ownership of the lesson to the students, the more they're going to stay engaged, the more they're going to be connected to that learning environment. I have another video, but I'm going to skip it.
My name is Brian.
Hi, Brian. We're going to watch Brian ski. But we're going to come back to that. We're going to come back to Brian if we have time. We're cruising on to 7 here. Right? And we, those of you that have gone through exams, you had, oh, what's the goal statement? What are you going to do? Right? Because that's the like, how is this lesson measurable? What is the outcome that you're after to see, did you guide them towards that outcome or not, right? And, oh man, this was supposed to come in 2 pieces. I didn't get it done right. But anyway, it's been like that. This is what connects us to what we're going to do, right? This is the end of our planning, right? We've been planning, we've been determining what they do, what's relevant for them. And now, because of whatever need I see in them, I would do this, right? That's where kind of like when you're doing your movement analysis and you drop your goal statement, to be honest, it doesn't matter what the student wants, right? Movement analysis goal statement is, because you lean really far back, we're going to work on manipulating the whole ski. Like we're going to work on moving forward. That way you have the opportunity to access more movements, right? Or something basic, right? You know, whatever it is. You lean really far inside like the boy we just watched, and you incline all the time. I'm going to work on alignment to the outside ski so that you have an opportunity to engage that ski a lot more, right? That would be your goal statement. That works great in movement analysis. And now when we move into teaching, that doesn't fly anymore. That's not enough. So we're going to change it to, because of your ability and your motivation, because I see you can do this and we talked about it and you want to do that, let's start with here. Let's start in this location, if that works for you. And then after we go in a little bit, we're going to check in. We're going to be like, is this still the track that we want to stay with? Or how are we going to modify this? Did I just discover that you're way better than you told me you were? And your skills far exceed kind of on my initial observations. I think we can do more. Let's do that. Let's modify. Let's adapt to the changing needs of the learner. Let's move that on up. Let's do something new there, right? And so when you put value to connect your identification and facilitation, like it's your diving board. It's how you get in the water, start swimming. Here's where we're starting and we're going to the other side of the lake. Don't be so rigid that like, I got to stay in my lane. I have to stay here because this is what we said we're going to do. If you don't, you have to pay attention to your student and you have to make something flow that will build upon itself, but it goes with where the student wants you to take it. So creating opportunities for them to experiment or freedom to play or like kind of a little bit of like give them some parameters that will help them identify some of their movements and have some ownership in that. Creates that goal statement. So I'm going to jump through. Where do I want to go? I'm going to come back for a sec. All right. So that gets us to creating the goal statement. That gets us to where we're at. Like, okay, this is where we're going to start, and it's because we identified some stuff from our initial conversation, and then I went out and I observed them and like, did I verify what they said? Yes, no, kinda. Then I'm going to ask them more questions. Oh, you said this like follow through with turns, and does that make sense to you? So I'd ask that kid. Would you what do you actually want to do today? Is probably what I would ask that kid. I'd be like, what do you really want to do? Because follow through with your turns probably doesn't sound like coming from a 13-year-old. And I would try to get it to be more aligned with who that student is. Then, I just lost my train of thought. But then, so after we had identified them, then we'll get going. We'll talk about. Let's start here with that kid, watching him ski. It's like, hey, I think we could make a true impact in your skiing. If you align and are stronger to the outside ski, I think that you'd be able to ski steeper terrain. I think you would be able to have more flow from turn to turn as you went from outside to outside ski. And you probably wouldn't fall over to the inside when it got real steep and your ski slid out, right? Like if it got hard and icy, a little bit freeze thaw on that kid, his life would be tough. And see if that works for him. Does that meet his desires, his needs? And so I have an option here for us tonight. I have another video. I'm going to play that. We have enough time. We're at 7. I'm going to play that other video from what we just chatted about. A little bit of opportunity to like listen to Brian tell us about himself, and then we're going to watch him ski. I'm not going to separate them on you, so you can be like, oh, that's only part of the information. And then take a moment to reflect on that. Take a moment to think about, what did I hear him say? What did I observe him do, right? Then on your own, if you want to practice stuff like verification, it's come up with questions you would want to ask or situations you would want to put the skier in to confirm some assumptions that you've created, right? Like what would you do to verify an observation you had or something the person said? Like the kid, like, I want to carve. I might take him down to something, so, you know, like find the freshest grooming I could and talk about like, let's go ahead and light it up. How fast can we go? Whatever it might be, to see what he truly has for carving. Does he truly carve in our understanding of carving? Or does he have opportunities there to discover how the tail truly follows the tip? Whatever it might be. Let's watch another video. And then those are some reflection things that I'm setting you all up with to have and do. And then with a little bit of extra time, I have slides on our fundamentals that kind of dig into them a little bit deeper. And we're going to talk about how those connect to all the rest of the stuff we've talked here so far. All right. Before I hop away, is any needs or wants from anybody? So far, we're doing good. I haven't had any more lightning, so we've been doing pretty good here. Everybody all right? Cool. Make sure I do the right screen this time. Share. All right, he's backwards, buddy. All right, let's get to know this guy.
My name is Brian Friedman. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I work for a bank, and I have been skiing since I was 7 years old, and I've been skiing more frequently as I've become older. The things I enjoy most about skiing, well, tough question to answer because there's pretty much nothing I don't enjoy. But one, it's the freedom that I feel on the mountain, the exhilaration of conquering it, the feeling of control in an uncontrolled environment, and most importantly, the scenery and the natural beauty that we have in the mountain ranges. And also the challenge to continuously, strive to make improvements, and no matter how long I've been skiing, every year there's always a micro improvement that I can make in my form and in my abilities on the mountain. Well, my sports hobbies and activities include hiking, canoeing, biking, running, reading, history, cooking, traveling. If there's somewhere to go, something to see, a mountain to climb, a river to kayak, then send me there, because there's no place too beautiful. Always been a student of history. It repeats itself, and it always comes in handy.
Sweet. So, Brian, he's not afraid to tell us some stuff, right? Like he just ran down a whole list. I can't write as fast as he talks. But I gave us a whole bunch of information. Now let's watch him ski. For those of you going to Portillo, enjoy that snow. And a nice soft center. There we go. Got a piece of bumps. hands around, you can carve, ride a ski on the corner. Lincoln turns. Spend a lot of time talking about being active and adventurous and that challenge to improve and stuff like that. And so I'd be real curious from watching him ski, like, you know, I got a pretty talented skier, I'm gonna play him again. Pretty talented skier that you could ski about anywhere you wanted to take him. What he's truly interested in, right? What creates thrill for him now? What's he want? Well, he doesn't hit that first ski on the side there. And where is he at right now? What's he working on? In his mind, what is he truly trying to do? Does he want to ski a straighter line in the bumps? Does he, you know, in today's society, does he see images of high edge angle carving? Does he want to develop higher edge angle carving? Where would he want to go? And so that's all that opportunity for verification as I watch him ski, right? As you see him ski around, right? There's some skill opportunities in movement analysis that you see in him, and so that's why we want to make sure we're very strong with movement analysis, because we don't work on something that's not going to be relevant. You can see this guy, right? Definitely aligns a little bit back when he gets in those bumps and he absorbs. Like, we could definitely use some, you know, better pressure management through the bumps. And same here, right? He kind of like, that lets his knees proportionately flex more than other stuff, kind of moves the middle back in his carving, which then you can do it, but it just makes it harder to have independent leg action there. But where would you go with this guy? And so for you, like, the challenge as an instructor who's trying to improve yourself and become a better teacher, you're like, all right, what questions would I ask Brian that would get me a little bit more pinpointed, a little more focused on where to go today? What activities would I have him ski or do to verify some assumptions I'm making as far as his skill level or things he can or can't do, right? Like what truly is the limit of his ability. And I'd also like spend some time of collaborating with him, like what's too much? What is too much thrill for Brian and what's not enough? The way he talked about doing this and doing that and all these other things, I would make the assumption that he probably doesn't want to stand around a lot and hear me chirp about the physics of how his body should align to the ski to get it to arc and yada, 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 right? Like, he probably would like to know about that, but on a chairlift ride, he'd probably like to spend more time doing, right? So I'd have to figure out what activity could I do that would stack him up on a ski, maybe get him a little more forward, or get him to like go through a whole range of flexion extension, so that when he runs into a bump, that he would be able to control his fore aft so the ski stays engaged from tip to tail through the. Those are things that I would need to do that would make it experiential, right? There's a lesson, you need to do these things, bam, 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 bam. And then if I want to make it experiential, I involve him. Here's an activity. I want you to see if you can do this or see if you can do that, right? Kind of set it up so there's a little bit of reflection in there. Is there a knowledge that he can compare one against another so it's an experiment? Or is there a sense of play of, I want you to try these things in this environment and go over here, or like if he skis with anybody else, how does he work together with a partner? A lot of opportunity to a lot of opportunity with Brian to go in a lot of different directions. And so, you know, there's not one answer. There's not like, you have to do this. That's not how it works. I mean, I guess there would be one answer, and it would come from Brian, right? Because he sets the relevance. But my point is, like, there's not one answer that, like, for those of you that are kind of thinking about exam, like, oh man, I got to do this. That like what is the thing I have to teach? As long as it's relevant to the people standing in front of you, what you're teaching is perfect. If it is not relevant to the people standing in front of you, you're missing the mark. That is the line. And so it can be whatever skills, long as it gets them to the end goal that, or towards their end goal. Does it meet some of the benchmarks and some of their short-term stuff? So that gives you, so that when you're out teaching with people, that's why we call it experiential versus some systematic, we have to do this to this to this. Gives us to, like, because of your ability and motivation, let's start with this, then we'll check in. Do we want to play with full range of motion and see how that works in bumps, in steeper terrain, through the trees, like where it might be a little bit lugy, whatever it might, gives them opportunity to do some of that stuff. So with a little bit of time, I'm gonna move quickly through these, but just some imagery and maybe some words that may help with some of our fundamentals, like to help you connect with them possibly, right? So when you collaborate on long-term goals and short-term objectives, say you're the instructor and you know everything and you're the smart person and you're like, this is what you need, and you're pulling your class along. Come on, guys, this is what you need, right? And you end up trying to be the motivator to get them to do something. And this is what it is. It's a tug of war in your lesson, and it never quite works out as awesome as you want it to. And the other part is, so that's not collaborating, right? That's you kind of pulling them. And here's where it starts, right? You meet your people at the beginning of the day, shake hands. Hey, I'm Amy again. Let's go snowboarding, yada, yada, yada. Giddy up. I challenge you to not stop here. To collaborate on long-term goals and short-term objectives, you should be reevaluating your short-term objectives every lap you're doing. Like, okay, here's where we're at. Like, they're in practice, like they're getting this, they're not getting this. Do I need to extend it or shorten it up? And so you're doing it in the middle of your lesson. You're taking some video. You're like, all right, here's some video of us. Let's readjust some stuff. You know what I mean? Like you're on the chairlifts. And so you're continuously collaborating. It does not live at the beginning during welcome introduction and then you're done collaborating. It is a continuous cycle that always happens. Managing information, activities, and train, right? Like you do that. That's what we do. That's what, when we're managing this is what creates the experiences, right? Information, how we use words. Pizza, French fries. My pizza mostly looks round like the one on the right. So it doesn't always mean a triangle. So we got to manage how I'm talking, manage what I'm doing. And I got to manage how much information, like right now, I've been talking for an hour and 14 minutes. And so this warning brain explosion zone, it's a whole lot of words with not a lot of do, right? You know, because this is set in presentation. The next several weeks, hopefully we'll set you up to do these things and you'll get a chance to participate a little bit more in this stuff. But like, be aware of like, quit talking and get out of your way. Let them go ski, right? Take them out there. Let them go do that. Doesn't that look delicious? Oh, we don't need to watch that poor kid. Right? And then, so here are my favorites, right? So we have fundamentals that connect the learner to the learning environment. Collaboration is one of them, right? When I collaborate with somebody, it gives them ownership in the learning environment, and then they engage and they stay connected to the learning environment. You can't learn what you don't listen to or pay attention. So if somebody disconnects from the learning environment, they're not going to change. We collaborate. The next thing, this one splits the diff, right? When we're out experimenting, exploring, and playing, it's usually pretty fun, so I want to stay engaged. But doing those things, those promote reflection. You know, you look at animals when they're babies, they're out playing and roughhousing and doing whatever, and they're doing what their parents teach them to do, but that's their life lessons. That's them learning, just like us as humans. When we go out and play, we can learn something with 5 repetitions in play versus 2,000 repetitions in practice. Whatever it might be, right? So go out and do those things. Make it fun.
Let's put our bunny rabbits out front.
Right? So here, right?
Yay!
An experiential game. A little girl used to be a wedger and coming in, and whenever she'd make a wedge, right? Make a wedge sitting on those things, it's like she wants to slide the rail, and we're like, you gotta be parallel. right? She learned right here that the edge doesn't stick on the box. You can't write an edge on that, and so she had to remain more parallel.
Here we go.
Oh, there she goes again. She tried to do it again, oh, but she pulls it back. She's like, oh, it's better
Oh,
if I stay parallel. Right, so that's creating an experiment. Well, if you make an edge on this box, it ain't gonna work out good for you. And then how do you reflect? When you look back at your tracks, what do your tracks tell you? What kind of opportunity, like when you compare one thing versus another thing? Your job, and so this moves into a little bit of the facilitation page of game, but you can use this in like when you're introduction and you're trying to discover who they are. If you have them reflect on what they've done before, what has and what hasn't worked, that's getting them into the learning environment right away at the beginning during the assessment. And it gets them in that mode, and it helps you get background knowledge on, right? That helps start identifying things. Oh, when this worked, and so you can help make decisions, make it more relevant to them. Like, oh, when we went in that environment, when it was really steep and icy, you hated your life and you never want to go skiing again. I'll do my best to avoid that, right? As opposed to like, oh, this is good for you, you must. And then we have adapt to the changing needs of the learner. That starts right away. We get out there and like, we're starting off with the beginners, and they have gloves that don't fit their hands, and they have a helmet falling off the back and all these things. Like, how are you going to adapt your environment to help them not get focused on all this gear that doesn't work, but to be able to enjoy the time, right? And so we start off with our original plan. This is where, like, let's start from here, and then, oh, here's the skills I have. We're going to go this way because I know you have all different skills. Oh, but your age is starting to come into play. You're really young, you want more energy, or like you're a little bit tired, you want to maybe take it easy. So your fitness tires you out. Oh, snow changed. And then you got to modify, right? And so you're always changing to the learner. And then, right, we got to manage emotional and physical risk, right? What are you going to go do? Well, are you going to scare the pants off somebody, or is this super exciting? You want to go like, I'm really bored and I want some thrill. So that brings us back right here to this piece, right? And so we come back to here's our fundamentals. We just kind of crushed through those super fast, but hopefully it gave you a little bit idea of like how can we use these all of the time continuously throughout the learning, throughout the teaching cycle, right? All of them present. And so you see the decision, behavior, instructor, all that, decisions, behavior, like that's the relevance piece, that blue circle around the outside. Like when you create relevance to the student in the middle, that helps you determine what you're gonna do from the rest. And so as we wrap this up, I've said it over and over and over again, and here I'm gonna say it one more time, that continuous student input engages the student in the lesson. It creates commitment and learning and provides information for us to create the best learning environment possible. If you go out and be like, you see them do one thing, like, oh, I gotta fix that. I can't do anything until I fix that. And you don't engage the student with that, they may check in, they may be in just because they're obedient and do some stuff, but you're missing an opportunity. Engage and connect with the student. Use your people skills and your technical skills to determine what's happening and continue that two-way communication. And then here I changed the word, right? Instead of identify the student's needs, it's identify the student's opportunities and desires. Because the more opportunities you have, the easier it is for you to align it to their motivations. I want to do this. All right, here's opportunities. If we choose this opportunity that aligns with this motivation, now I've created something that's relevant to this student, and we get to keep moving. I use tools sometimes. I over my career, models have helped me be a little bit more organized and on point. As you get, just like with anything, as you get more comfortable and have more data to use, you develop or modify the tools to yourself. But there, I gave a couple of thoughts in this, in this presentation to the guest center teaching model to help organize some identification pieces, and then also some like ask, observe, assign meaning, and then verify, right? Then create relevance for the students. Whatever you choose, or what you come and collaborate to, it's for the students versus your opinion, right? Spend most of your time moving. It is really easy to feel like we have to prep everything. And you don't. You need to give them enough to be safe, and you need to get people moving, because once people are moving, they're doing it, and we get to go from there. And then a student-centered approach throughout the entire experience creates a personalized experience, caters to the student. That's a bit of, that what we went over tonight. Hopefully you felt, you could see how spending time getting to know our students, picking up specific information, spending time verifying that, right? Don't take stuff at face value, dig deeper, verify your assumptions, and then spend time talking to them about what they think they're doing, what are they trying to do, what do they want to do. It's okay to differentiate, like terrain outcomes. I'm as good as I can get down outcomes versus I'm as good as how I did it outcomes. Some people want both, some people want one, some people want the other. It's okay, we can meet their needs. But that's kind of what I had to share tonight, that focuses on the beginning of that teaching learning cycle. If anybody came in late and you're still here, please make sure you fill out the attendance form. And I'm going to hang out for a few minutes if people have questions or want more clarification.